The cameras didn't blink, the palace walls didn't whisper, they watched as Meghan Markle kept stepping where she wasn't supposed to stand, reaching for spaces she wasn't invited to occupy, and learning in real time that royal doors don't slam, they quietly close. This isn't about one awkward moment. This is about a pattern, a trail of stiff smiles, redirected footsteps, and carefully staged please step aside moments that insiders swear weren't accidents, they were messages. And once you see them stacked back to back, the story changes completely. Let's rewind. It begins on a royal tour to Morocco, sun blazing, cameras rolling, red carpet laid out with military precision. This carpet wasn't symbolic. It wasn't decorative. It was reserved. One person only. Prince Harry was meant to walk it, inspect the guard of honor, and own the moment. But as the cameras followed, Meghan drifted closer, shoulder to shoulder, step for step, a subtle attempt to merge the spotlight. Then, the interruption. A palace staffer steps in. Calm, firm, no theatrics, just a quiet redirect. The body language says everything, not you. Meghan pauses. A brief exchange. Her face tightens. The message doesn't change. She's guided off the carpet, forced to walk beside it. Parallel but separate. The internet exploded. Some said red carpets were for senior royals only. Others whispered she'd been barred as a non-royal spouse. But one thing was unmistakable. The universe said not today. And the cameras caught it all. That was just the opening act. Not long after the wedding, another invitation, Prince Charles's birthday celebration. A closed circle affair, senior royals, tight protocol. But something felt off the moment Meghan arrived. She didn't blend. She didn't engage. According to those in the room, she openly complained, said she wanted to leave, said she didn't want to be there. Camilla heard it, and Camilla didn't ignore it. The message reached Charles quickly. And his response wasn't emotional, it was decisive. Why keep negative energy at a private celebration? Why force harmony where it clearly wasn't welcome? Minutes later, Harry gets the line no royal ever wants to hear your car is waiting. No confrontation, no public embarrassment, just a polite royal eviction. Smiles, handshakes, exit. What a pity. Then came March 2019, the 50th anniversary of Charles becoming Prince of Wales. Buckingham Palace. Formal reception. Senior royals only. Here's where protocol becomes law. Before the main event, a private viewing room was reserved for Queen Elizabeth II, Charles, Prince William, and their spouses. Everyone else was explicitly instructed to wait elsewhere. But Harry and Meghan didn't wait. Footage shows them already hovering near the entrance before the Queen arrived. Not by mistake, not by confusion. They had pushed ahead. At one point, Charles himself intervenes. No, senior royals only. Still, they linger. That's when palace aides move in. Security steps forward, and the moment is sealed, they're escorted away from the Queen and out of the room entirely. In royal language, that's not a suggestion. That's a hard boundary, and it didn't stop there. Across the Atlantic, long before Duchess titles and royal tours, another story surfaces. This one from a New York martyrdee who had seen real power walk through his restaurant daily. The setting, Lucali 2017. According to his account, Meghan's handler demanded a private table. The reason? She was dating a prince, soon to be a duchess. Royal Association name dropping in full force. The response? No table available. The handler doubled down. Royal connection repeated. Status emphasized. The matrodelator admitted his instinct was to laugh. Not out of cruelty, but disbelief. No one cared. Not the staff, not the guests, not the room. Power didn't impress anyone there. And Meghan? Silent, aloof, distant, watching the tactic fail in real time. She left with attention, but not the kind she wanted. Then came one of the most whispered moments of all, an arts patron visit. The National Theater, the Dorfman Theater, cameras waiting. According to accounts shared online, Queen Elizabeth II had requested to see Meghan beforehand. A direct call, clear instruction. Meghan didn't go. She proceeded to the arts meeting anyway, unaware the Queen had already canceled it. So when she arrived, no meeting, no role, no welcome. Security stepped in. She was escorted away, told to return to Buckingham Palace. And what made it worse, the cameras. Meghan appeared acutely aware of them, notably without her ring, a visual that sent speculation spiraling. Ignoring a request from the Queen isn't a misstep, it's unthinkable, and the palace doesn't forget. Soon after, the consequences became unmistakable. When Harry and Meghan exited royal duties, they believed freedom was the prize. What they didn't anticipate was the cost. Frogmore Cottage. The order was simple, final. Pack up, leave. Do not return, no negotiations, no extensions. A literal removal from royal proximity. This wasn't symbolic, it was strategic. By the time the Platinum Jubilee arrived, the hierarchy was unmistakable. No balcony appearance, no front row placement, no senior royal privileges, instead, second row seating, physical distance from William and Catherine. A visual downgrade broadcast worldwide. This wasn't a mistake. It was choreography. Titles don't outrank hierarchy. Cameras don't beat tradition. For a couple built on visibility, the message cut deep, and this was only the beginning. The pattern continued. The exclusions grew sharper. The spaces smaller. By the time the Platinum Jubilee curtains lifted, the message was no longer whispered. It was broadcast. 70 years of duty. 70 years of hierarchy. 70 years of knowing exactly who belongs where. And Meghan Markle didn't belong where she expected to be. No balcony moment, no iconic wave, no center frame positioning. While working royals stood shoulder to shoulder in history, Meghan and Harry were placed away, physically distanced, visually diminished, unmistakably downgraded. Second row, not a seating error, not a last-minute shuffle. This was pre-planned choreography, measured down to the inch. Royal events don't improvise, they execute. For a couple who built their brand on visibility, this wasn't just a snub, it was humiliation wrapped in protocol. The palace didn't raise its voice. It didn't issue a statement. It simply enforced the rule Meghan had never truly accepted. If you're not a working royal, you don't get working royal privileges. And once that door closes, it doesn't reopen. After stepping down, Meghan was erased from future balcony appearances entirely. Not paused, not temporarily removed. Erased. One of the most watched royal moments on earth gone overnight. No spin, no apology, just absence. And then came the moment the world expected unity. Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, a moment meant to suspend feuds, a moment meant for family. But even grief follows hierarchy. Meghan was placed far from the senior royals, seated behind candles, partially obscured, out of the inner circle. This wasn't accidental. Funerals of this scale are rehearsed with military precision. Royal watchers noticed immediately. The cameras lingered just long enough for the message to land. Second row, once again, in royal language, this is the most polite form of removal there is. You're present, but peripheral. Included but invisible. And the exclusions didn't end there. While world leaders gathered at Buckingham Palace for a state event hosted by King Charles, Meghan and Harry were notably absent. No invitation, no seat, no role. Initially, whispers suggested they might attend. Then the palace corrected course. Only working royals, no exceptions, no runaways. That word echoed quietly behind closed doors. Runaways. At a time when Meghan would have given anything for relevance, the palace made one thing clear. Proximity is earned, not married into. And then came the coronation. A global spectacle. A once-in-a-generation spotlight. Prince Charles ascending the throne. Meghan didn't attend. Officially, it was framed as a choice. Unofficially, insiders whispered something colder. Her presence wasn't needed. Her relevance had expired. The institution had moved on. This wasn't about spite. It was about order. And the truth many didn't want to admit was, staring everyone in the face, Meghan Markle wasn't being kicked out in dramatic fashion. She was being managed out, redirected, repositioned, removed quietly, efficiently, and without confrontation. Every moment followed the same pattern. Step forward. Boundary enforced. Smile stiffens. Exit follows. From red carpets to private rooms. From palace parties to global ceremonies. From balconies to back rows. Each incident alone could be explained away. Together, they form a timeline. A timeline of a woman who never quite understood that royalty isn't about presence, it's about permission. Meghan arrived expecting transformation. The palace expected adaptation. And when adaptation failed, the system did what it always does. It closed ranks. No screaming matches. No dramatic expulsions. Just silent corrections and repositioning until the message became undeniable. You can marry into the family, but you don't outrank the crown. You can hold a title, but you don't override tradition. You can chase cameras, but the institution doesn't chase you back. By the end, Meghan wasn't storming out of rooms. She simply wasn't invited into them anymore. And that is the most devastating removal of all. Because in the royal world, being loudly rejected still gives you a story. Being quietly excluded, that means the story has already ended. Story has already ended. Story has already ended.